Ribeye. Cut from the rib section between the 6th and 12th ribs. The ribeye is defined by the heavy marbling that runs through the center eye of the steak. Those thin streaks of intramuscular fat slowly melt as the meat cooks, effectively basting it from the inside and creating a rich, juicy bite without needing much external fat or sauce. That is why ribeye is usually treated as the flavor-first steak. It is not always the most tender cut on the menu, but it delivers one of the deepest beef flavors you can get from a quick cooking steak. Ribeyes respond best to high heat, either on a grill or in a cast iron pan, where the outside can form a dark crust while the interior fat renders just enough to keep everything moist. New York strip, also called strip steak or sirloin strip. This cut comes from the short loin just behind the ribs. Instead of heavy marbling throughout the muscle, the strip develops a fat cap along one side. That fat helps protect the meat during cooking and adds flavor without changing the interior texture too much. Compared to ribeye, the strip has a firmer chew and a more structured bite that still carries that classic steakhouse taste sitting between lean and fatty. It is often the default steak in American restaurants because it handles simple, high-heat cooking extremely well. Filet mignon, taken from the tenderloin of the cow. This cut comes from a muscle that barely does any physical work during its lifetime. Because it is not heavily used, the muscle fibers remain extremely fine, which is why filet mignon is known as the most tender steak available. The trade-off is flavor. Since the tenderloin contains very little fat or connective tissue, fillet tends to have a milder, almost buttery texture rather than the bold beefiness found in fattier cuts. It is usually served thick and cooked quickly over high heat to avoid drying out. T-bone. This is essentially two steaks in one, separated by a T-shaped bone. On one side of the bone sits a portion of strip steak, while the other side contains a smaller piece of a high T tenderloin. That combination gives you two textures in a single cut, firm and beefy on one side and soft and delicate on the other. The bone itself plays a role during cooking by helping retain heat and slow moisture loss, which can slightly improve the final texture. Bones are typically grilled or broiled, then sliced off the bone after resting and plated together. Porterhouse. Structurally similar to the T-bone, but cut further back along the short loin, where the tenderloin portion becomes much larger. In practical terms, that means you are getting a full strip steak and a substantial piece of filet mignon attached to the same bone. Porterhouses are often large enough to serve multiple people and are designed to be carved after cooking, rather than eaten whole by one person. In Italy, this cut appears as bistecca alla fiorentina, traditionally cooked rare over extremely hot coals and sliced before serving. Sirloin cut from Behin.
Here are concise alternatives to the original text. Ribeye or strip, it's still flavorful, but lacks the melt-in-your-mouth texture associated with heavy marbling. Sirloin is an everyday, versatile steak suitable for various cooking methods like grilling, pan-searing, and slicing for kebabs or stir-fry. Flat iron chuck steak, taken from the shoulder, has a tough central seam and a surprising tender texture. It's often recommended as a value alternative due to its similar eating experience at a lower cost. Flank steak from the abdominal area is lean, intensely beefy, but tends to become tough when cooked beyond medium. It's a popular choice for marinades and high-heat cooking methods like grilling or pan-searing. Hanger steak, taken from the belly region, has a soft texture and a deep, minerally flavor. It's known for intense beef flavor and a chewy texture when served rare to medium rare. Overcooking makes it tough very quickly, so it's traditionally cooked hot and fast, then rested and sliced. Tomahawk ribeye, left attached to a long rib bone, is characterized by its strong flavor, open grain structure, and tender texture. It's often seared first to develop a crust, left to rest, and slice thinly across the grain for serving. Chuck taken from the plate section shares similar characteristics with ribeye, but comes from the shoulder instead. It has good marbling and a strong flavor, but includes more connective tissue than premium steakhouse cuts. Chuck eye benefits from gentle cooking methods, such as reverse searing or medium heat grilling, which help break down extra connective tissue. Rump steak, taken from the back leg of the cow, has a lean muscle group that sees a lot of physical activity during the cow's life. That extra work results in leaner meat with less marbling, which is why rump steak tends to be firmer and slightly tougher than premium cuts like ribeye or strip. Despite that, it still carries plenty of beef flavor when handled correctly. Rump steak is often marinated before cooking to relax the muscle fibers, then grilled or pan-seared to medium rare and sliced thinly against the grain afterward. Picanha, or the top sirloin cap, is characterized by its thick, fat cap along one side of the meat. It differs from heavily marbled steaks because most of its fat sits on the outside, slowly rendering during cooking and helping baste the lean interior. Picanha is especially popular in Brazilian churrasco, where it is cut into thick strips, skewered with the fat facing outward, and grilled over an open flame. From ribeye marbling to sirloin structure, steak is defined by muscle, fat, and how each cut responds to heat and technique. Let us know in the comments what you think we should cover next.